Hello, my name is Pat Dillon, and I'm your speaker today to talk about starting up a neuroscience startup. And this is especially directed toward veterans who are choosing to go down the path of starting their own company. So my background is that I've spent 30 plus years working with companies in the federal R&D space, specifically with the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer programs. I've worked with a lot of companies, both startup and existing companies, to help them navigate the process of securing federal funding to bring their innovations to life. I am also a retired Navy commander. I spent 40 years both in the active duty and in the reserves. And I also had a tour in Afghanistan in 2011 to 2012. So I want to take this opportunity to just kind of like give you kind of a heads up on what we're talking about today. And of course, here's the agenda: taking the leap, getting started, questions that you should consider, the funding through SBIR and STTR, specifically through the NIH and the National Science Foundation and the Department of Defense. Also, angel and venture capital to support your company. And then the resources for veteran-owned startups. So let me first say thank you for your service. Someone that has been certainly involved with the military for many years, I really appreciate those who came before me and after me to support the U.S. Constitution and our freedoms that we enjoy in this country. So thank you for your service. So I think veterans really make great entrepreneurs, and we can see this certainly with the statistics of veterans making up 45% of those that are self-employed or that and also start companies. I think when you look at the experience that we have or have had, having served in the military, our discipline, our tenacity, and our adaptability really are great characteristics to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. And if you're a woman entrepreneur, thank you, a woman veteran entrepreneur, I should say. You know, there's a lot of opportunity, and women are starting businesses at a higher rate than ever before. And even in the work that we do in Minnesota, many of our entrepreneurs are women entrepreneurs who are stepping into the process of taking an idea and commercializing it. So one of the key things that you want to be thinking about is entrepreneurship right for you. And for some of you, it may not be, but for many of you, if you're watching this video, it's something that you're thinking about. And you will hear this later on, but there's no better time to be an entrepreneur in my perspective. You know, a couple of things that you need to keep in mind is, of course, do you have the capacity, you know, the time, the money, and the flexibility in your life, because there are other things going on that you certainly need to take in consideration as you step onto this path of being an entrepreneur. You want to be realistic about the vision that you have for the future. And you want to take the time and do your research and really be strategic in everything that you do to realize the opportunity that you see ahead for yourself. I think it's always important to have a deep level of curiosity, because no matter what topic it is, you're going to be learning something new, frankly, every day. And I can certainly attest to that in the work that I've done over the last 30 years, working with all different kinds of startups and small businesses in the federal SBIR and STTR programs. There's a wide area of science and technology that we cover, and there's always an opportunity to learn something new. And this is even true in the business world as well, and trying to commercialize a technology. There's a lot that you're going to have to learn, along that pathway. And if you continue to keep asking questions, that's always a good place to start. And I know, having served in the military, we all had setbacks, and we had to persevere and overcome. And so you're going to have those setbacks with your entrepreneurial venture, but you're also going to learn from those setbacks, and you're going to figure out another path going forward. And so maybe the best way to describe this is to always have a plan B. If something doesn't work out the way you think it should, you should always have that plan B. And the key question that I always ask our entrepreneurs, are you ready for this journey? Because this isn't a destination. It's something that you're going to continue on for many years, and you just really want to be smart about when you start this journey. So I think there's a great opportunity, to expand your horizon by becoming an entrepreneur. Again, I think veterans make great entrepreneurs, and certainly if you're a woman veteran, this certainly can be a part of your future as well. And I think, starting a NeuroTech startup company is your job number one, and you're going to have to balance that with all the other responsibilities that you have in your life, your family, your friends, your colleagues, maybe aging parents, or so forth. Now, starting a NeuroTech startup will take capital, and probably the best kind of capital there is the non-dilutive type of capital. And of course, SBIR and STTR funding is a great source of non-dilutive capital to help bring your innovation to life. And it's going to support the firm long term. So you want to combine scientific expertise, business acumen, and a strategic approach to realize your vision. And know that there are many complexities to not only both the technology and the marketplace. And one of the key things that you definitely want to be focused on is, what is the market opportunity for your innovation? And this will require not only conversations with experienced individuals, but it'll also require primary and secondary market research to really understand what is the market opportunity for your technology. It also requires a multidisciplinary approach and a commitment to ongoing learning. Always seek mentorship. Surround yourself with people that you know and trust, and that can provide advice and guidance to you along the way. But I think there's going to be many questions that come up that are not, necessarily focused on the neuroscience component of your business, but other questions about strategy, about other relationships that might be helpful to your business, the market, and of course the customers that you ultimately are trying to serve. And be resilient. And I think, having been a veteran and someone that served in the military, you always had to, think about, picking yourself up by your bootstraps and keep moving forward. And so that commitment that you had to resiliency is really important to an entrepreneurial venture. Of course, part of your job is to stay on top of the recent advances or trends or other aspects of what's occurring in your neuroscience space. And part of your job is to really identify what is that problem that you're trying to solve, and how will your technology solve that problem. And this is very important, because this will be part of many conversations that you will have as you build momentum and excitement for your neuroscience startup. You really need to be focused on what you're actually going to be delivering through your startup. And so whether it's addressing a neurological disorder or a diagnostic tool or a therapeutic device or maybe some other type of innovative solution, you really need to stay focused to ensure that you're spending your time and energy wisely and working towards achieving your milestones that you've identified for not only your technology, but certainly for your business. Because at the end of the day, your investors or even the federal agencies that fund neuroscience research and development, they too are going to be looking for those milestones and a focus on what you're trying to accomplish. Understanding your market is really important. And so take the time to talk to people, do your market research, whether it's primary or secondary market research. You really want to understand who your competitors are, what are the current solutions that maybe people are using today, how will your solution offset or change their practice. It's really important to do this homework because it's required even for an SBIR and STTR application to really understand, well, what is the problem? What is the unmet need that exists, and how will your proposed solution address that opportunity that exists? And what you do with, describing this in an application with NIH or NSF or the same will be true for investors. They will want to know the same kind of information. So do your homework, really understand what's going on in your market, who are the competitors, and what does your solution offer that's of value to those customers that you envision. I can't stress the importance enough about assembling a team either internally or externally, to help support your vision and your opportunity that you see for your technological innovation and the product or service or process that might come out of it. And you want to be wise about who you engage with to support your effort. And one of the things that I think is really important is collaboration. This is either through an academic institution or through industry or strategic partnerships. You want to bring together a team of people that believe in your opportunity and that bring something of value to the table that's going to help you meet your milestones. And they can either be paid or unpaid kind of positions, if you will, but you want to make sure that you have a really strong team in place to help move you down the path towards commercialization. Again, developing your product or your solution, you're going to have to do maybe some prototyping, testing, or refining your technology. And of course, it's all contingent on being able to pay for this kind of work. And this is why SBIR and STTR funding is really important, especially for startups, because you don't have those kind of financial resources available. And this is one way to help do some of those things. And so once you've sort of identified what the needs are, certainly SBIR or other funding, non-dilutive sources that can be helpful will help you continue to move down that path. Intellectual property is the lifeblood of a startup company. And so one of the key things that you will definitely want to do is to really understand what's the IP landscape for your technology. And if you have the financial resources to actually do a freedom to operate analysis, it's really behoove of you to look at the whole IP landscape, because it's important not only for an SBIR or CTR application, but also important if you're going out and raising capital through investors. They will want to know what's your IP position, and is it protectable, and is it domestic IP rights, or is there a potential for international IP? But it's absolutely crucial to any business opportunity that you envision. And maybe you decide not to patent your technology. Maybe you want to keep it as a trade secret. But just really understand the IP landscape, what your options are, because at the end of the day, that is the value in the small business. So writing a comprehensive business plan may take, some time, but I would encourage you to spend maybe some time really thinking through what's your vision, your mission, the market, really understanding that market, and the customers that you intend to serve. What does a competitive landscape look like? And this is going to take time to pull this information together. Figure out what your business model is. How are you going to make money from your proposed solution? And what is that strategy? And then, of course, having realistic financial projections. And sometimes, 3 to 5 years is a realistic time period to put together those projections. And, of course, it all changes, but you have to start somewhere, and you might as well figure out, long term, what does it look like over a period of 5 years. And investors will also want to see this information, and make sure it's realistic. And you might get different opinions about maybe you're not being too aggressive, or maybe you're being too aggressive. You just really want to find that balance, but be realistic. And really understand how your product is going to get into the hands of the customers that you intend to serve. Now, I talked a lot about SBIR and STTR, and it's a great source of non-dilutive funding to help support you from the lab to the marketplace. And there are 3 agencies that really focus on neuroscience type of projects, and of course NIH, and then we have the National Science Foundation, and then to some extent the Department of Defense. And NIH and NSF offer grants, which is really attractive because they have the money and the mission, but they're looking for those innovative solutions to address human health needs. Whereas the Department of Defense, it's a contracting agency, and they define what the topic area is, and of course then companies can propose their solution to address that problem that the DoD is having. So you want to be looking at all these agencies and just having a roadmap for the future and how your projects could be funded through one or more of these agencies. And one thing that you can certainly keep in mind is that you can propose a project to NIH. You could also propose it to NSF, but you can't accept money from both. You can only accept money from one agency for that project. But one thing that I've learned about entrepreneurs is that they just don't have one idea. They have many ideas. So you want to put together a strategy on how to target and solicit funding from these different agencies as it relates to your business and your goals for the future. So we're part of an organization that's funded through the Small Business Administration. So Minnesota SBIR, we're one of 44 organizations in the state or in the country that provides support to companies through the process of applying and securing funding through SBIR and STTR. My recommendation is to get in touch with your local resources to help you navigate these overwhelming programs. And I say that with all sincerity. It is overwhelming to start down this path because there's a lot of elements associated with applying to NIH and NSF and DoD that are somewhat similar, but not always. And so this is where an expert resource that can be helpful to you as you navigate these programs. Of course, you might have to also be thinking about raising capital through angels or venture capitalists, and this needs to be a part of your growth plan from the very beginning. and really think through when this source of funding is going to be needed for your business. Now, sometimes companies will secure SBIR and STTR funding first, and then they go out and raise capital through angels and maybe venture capitalists. Or they may start with angel investment first, and then pursue SBIR and STTR funding, and then maybe later on followed by venture capital. So just be thoughtful about when you want to engage with investors to support your business. And, as you know, when you bring in other sources of capital through angels or venture capital, they will want a piece of your company in return for those dollars. So just be really thoughtful about when and how much you're going to need in order to help support your research and commercialization pathway. Now, there are many different resources that exist for veteran entrepreneurs. It's quite overwhelming from my perspective, but we have government, we have entrepreneurial support organizations, incubators, accelerators, there's academic resources, industry resources. I think the challenge that most entrepreneurs have, is how do all of these things fit together to support my business? And this is some homework that you're going to also have to do, because not all of these resources are created equal. And you have to pick those that make sense for you and your business and really add value to what you're trying to accomplish. I'm a big proponent of the National I-Corps program, which is funded through the National Science Foundation. And then many other federal agencies also offer the I-Corps program, including the National Institutes of Health. The I-Corps program is focused at, certainly offered at many universities. And you really want to take advantage of this, because this is an opportunity to better understand your customers. And a big focus of the National I-Corps is on customer discovery. And you understand that, you think there's some pain points and you think you have a solution, but until you actually talk to those potential customers, you won't know for sure if your solution is going to address that pain point. And one thing that has been shared by other companies that have gone through the I-Corps program is what they thought the problem was is not really the problem, or their solution was really not the solution, it was really something else. And this is really valuable to get that kind of information early on in the process is absolutely vital as you continue down this path of commercialization. Now, I'm a big proponent of incubators and accelerators, and you just want to pick those that are kind of focused in the high-tech space. There are many incubators and accelerators out there that, sort of deal with mainstream kinds of startups. Neuroscience startup is not a mainstream startup. And so you want to be very careful about which accelerator or incubators you get involved in, because you really want that kind of mentorship from people that understand how to take a technology from the lab to the marketplace. And a couple of, really good incubators or accelerators are Techstars and Y Combinator. And some of our companies that have been successful in SBIR and STTR have participated in their support. Of course, a lot of educational institutions and research centers have other resources available, so you definitely want to look into that to support your business. The key thing is you're not alone. You are definitely not alone, and it's a matter of just doing your research and understanding what is out there and how can it help you and your business. And I talked about the educational programs and workshops like I-Corps, but there's the NIH Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, which is something that's brand new, and you have to apply for it and be accepted in order to take advantage of it. Again, these agencies, especially in the SBIR and STTR programs, are very much interested on supporting entrepreneurs in research and commercialization, and they're using part of their funding to help support these unique programs that are really valuable to not only startups, but certainly small businesses as well. And then, of course, take advantage of your state-based resources, and it could vary quite a bit depending upon where you're located. I'm a big proponent of networking. You got to get out of the building and go talk to other people, build your relationships, establish those relationships, and then continue to build on them. But you want to create a circle of individuals or organizations that you can turn to when you need some advice or guidance on something that you're facing, and you don't want to go it alone. You want to get feedback from other people that have been there or done it before. Professional associations of course, very important no matter what discipline you're in. And then, of course, in the NeuroTech space, I'm sure there's some organizations that are involved with providing entrepreneurial experience, like this NIH-funded NeuroTech Course. These are great opportunities to get exposure and to get better acquainted to the topics and the other things that you're going to have to learn as you grow your business. And of course, we have the Small Business Administration, which also supports veterans and women-owned businesses, and they have a lot of resources available, but not all of it is always geared towards a neurotech startup, except for the SBIR and STTR programs, which SBA has oversight of those two programs. But you also want to take a look at your state, your county, and local government agencies and programs. I mean, there's a lot going on, so just kind of make your list and segment it by, federal, state, regional, county, local, so that you stay focused and you put, the relative program and resource in the appropriate bucket. So the Small Business Administration always puts together this Small Business Resource Guide, and so this is very comprehensive, and it's for any type of business. So just take a look at it, know what's available, because it may not be applicable today, but it might be applicable in the future. And you want to be familiar with what those resources might be when you're a little bigger, and you might need additional financing to support your growth. Now, SCORE is, it used to be called Service Corps of Retired Executives. I really think they've done an amazing job of really changing their brand and really providing some valuable educational support to small businesses around the country. And they offer these training events, educational events on all sorts of different topics. So I would encourage you to sign up for their listserv and just, attend those sessions, because they're always free and they're mostly just an hour and a half long. And again, these are all kinds of topics that come under the umbrella of a small business. So it's not going to be directly focused on neuroscience startups, but there are many topics that, of course, are applicable to any kind of business. So again, another way to get kind of familiar with some of these topics that pertain to starting and growing a business. And then lastly, if you have a product or service that you think is a fit later, down the road, basically, until, you're ready to sell your product or service, there's this other organization called Apex Accelerators. And these organizations can help you better understand the procurement opportunities that might exist for your product or service. And for many companies that are coming through the SBIR and the CTR pathway, your product or service, if it's been funded in part by SBIR and STTR, and now it's at a stage where you want to sell it back into the government because there's an opportunity for that, they can buy it on a sole source basis. And this is a provision within the SBIR and STTR programs that allows this to happen. It's not for every product, but it's something to keep in mind. And the accelerators, the APEX accelerators, can help with understanding, federal rules, regs, and requirements, and so forth. So now I'm going to touch on veteran resources. And if you're like me, there seems to be a lot of veteran resources that are available to support any aspect of starting a business, no matter whether it's a neurotech company or something else. So there are veteran business outreach centers and throughout the country, and you'll have to research EBOCs to see if there's one that's available in your area. And again, these are very broad types of support that they provide to any type of entrepreneur. Boots to business. There's, if you just came off active duty, or, you're ready to, transition out of the military, there's, of course, this Boots to Business program, which is funded in part by the Small Business Administration. Again, this is another resource, and sometimes it's, it's going to be available to you depending upon your status. It's quite impressive how many people they've trained over the years. So another aspect that you want to do is actually become a certified veteran-owned small business. And you can do this. And this is through, again, the Small Business Administration has responsibility for providing that, doing the due diligence to provide you with that certification. If you're a product or service that, of course, has a fit within the VA, the Veterans Administration, then they have this Vets First program. And then you also, if you're a small or service-disabled veteran-owned small business, you can have the opportunity to compete for federal sole source and set-aside contracts across the federal government. And now this is different from SBIR sole source contracting. But again, this is, you served our country, and this is one way that the federal government is continuing to recognize your service, and you should take advantage of that and get that status. So there's, the transition was, it used to be the VA had that responsibility to provide that certification to service-disabled veterans, but that changed in 2023, and now that rests with the Small Business Administration. So if you're a veteran with a disability, of course, there's the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp that's available to you as well. And so you definitely want to check into that and see if that's something that fits with you. And then Bunker Labs. I'm a big fan of Bunker Labs, and this actually was acquired recently by the group at Syracuse University. And Bunker Labs was first started out as a nonprofit, and then, of course, it was acquired recently. But it's got a really good reputation across the country, and there's been Bunker Lab organizations around the country, and we had one here in Minneapolis, and now you have this opportunity with Syracuse, and of course it's partially funded through J.P. Morgan Chase to bring those resources available to veteran entrepreneurs all across the country. So just because we're not in New York, it's still available to you. The DAV, Patriot Boot Camp. Again, I was surprised when I learned about this one, but it's another institute for procurement, and it's probably not necessarily a good fit with neurotech startups, but you certainly want to take a look at it and see if it fits with your business. So one of the last, I want to give you like 3 takeaways here. And first one is you're not alone. And I think there's no better time to be an entrepreneur than now. There are so many resources and support available at all levels of government and even within academia. The key thing is to get connected with your local entrepreneurial resources that can be really valuable. You just got to, frankly, get dropped into the ecosystem so that you know what's going on and what the opportunities are, and maybe even other grant programs that exist for startup entrepreneurs. You build relationships to help you along the journey. There are people that I still engage with that I've known for over 30 years, and we're still, still rely on them to provide advice and guidance. So build relationships that you can leverage for a very, very long time. And I know we're all very experienced people, and we've done things that maybe other people haven't done, but you don't know everything to be successful. So you really need to surround yourself with people that you know and trust, and just know, don't go it alone. There's a lot to learn, a lot to do, and you want to be successful, and it's going to take a whole village to help you realize your dream. And we all know that we got to start with a plan. And so just be really, smart about what your goals and objectives are. We're all familiar with change. I mean, we certainly, experienced that in the military. So get comfortable with those pivots that you might have to make. Celebrate the small wins. It's a long road from the lab to the marketplace, and you really have to stay motivated and focused, and so celebrate those small wins because they are meaningful. And then remember, this is a journey. It's not a destination. And I think it's just so exciting, to realize that starting a company, growing a company, maybe you want to become a lifestyle business, or maybe you want to grow this and sell it to another company, or maybe you simply just want to be a small business in your local community. That's fine. It's just know what that is and work towards that. So one thing that you definitely want to do is be strong and tenacious, and I know that you can because you're a veteran, and you've had to develop a strategic mindset. And so you want to also build personal resilience to weather the ups and downs. And there will be ups and downs, but you can overcome those. We had to overcome some of those ups and downs even in the military. So you can do that. And of course, unwavering persistence and tenacity. You don't give up. And, have your vision, and you work towards that vision, and you have your plan and your strategic mindset. A growth mindset is one other term that people have often used. But one thing that you're going to also think about is, get comfortable with no, because sometimes things don't always work out the way we want them to, but you keep moving along. You keep focused on your mission and your goals. And being strong and tenacious, I think, is really important as an entrepreneur. And you want to be focused on your goals and really work towards that, and knowing what the end goal is as you see it is really important. So with that, I want to thank you again for attending this session, and I also want to thank you again for your service to our country. It's always an honor to talk with other veterans and to thank them for their service.